Hello viewers, this is Attorney Naresh Gehi, and we are going to talk about an interesting issue that connects the world of domestic relations and the world of immigration law. And today we've chosen a topic that concerns a lot of people, especially when it comes to the matrimonial laws of the state of New York. Yes, the matrimonial laws of the state of New York and the immigration laws of our country. So today we're going to talk about immigration and divorces. Many people come to this country and after that they're stuck in a situation wherein they have to undergo the divorce process, especially when the immigration documents are pending. And also the US citizen spouse has concerns as to how the divorce would affect her husband or her wife's immigration status and how it is going to affect her. So keeping these factors in mind, I have my manager, Sandeep, as always, and he has a lot of questions which he wants to ask me in connection with immigration and divorces. Welcome, Sandeep. It's always a pleasure being with you.
Thank you, Attorney Gehi. The first question is...
You just want to get to the question, and you don't want to tell me of how many people are asking you about this particular issue as to what's going on. Mr. Gehi, I'm in the middle of a divorce, and tell me what questions you have for me. What are the burning things you have for me today?
You know, we want to give our viewers the meat of the program as soon as possible.
Are you sure you just want to give the meat and not the potatoes?
No.
All right, so we'll just have the meat on the program.
It's the focus anyway. The first question is going to be, if I'm a conditional green card holder, however, my U.S. citizen spouse is threatening to deport me, what are my options?
All right, so the question here is that, in layman's terms, is that you have a 2-year green card. And since you have a 2-year green card, your wife or your husband wants to divorce you at this point of time. Can you still save your green card, and can you qualify for a 10-year green card? Am I correct? That's what you're trying to ask me?
That's what.
The answer is yes. You have a chance of saving your green card. And for example, a recent case that we handled was of a couple wherein the spouse got the 2-year green card, and he just lived with this American citizen spouse for a very short time because the marriage was not working out. And secondly, what also happened in this case was that this particular foreign spouse who had the 2-year green card was regularly being subjected to abuse. Now, there came a point wherein this particular foreign spouse said that, listen, I have a 2-year green card, Mr. Gehi, and I cannot take this torture anymore. So the very first thing we did is we had a long conversation with this person, and we did realize that it was a bona fide marriage. So the job of a lawyer in this case is to first see whether, when the party is married, what was the intention of the parties, whether they intended to establish a life together. That's the first prong of the test. Later on, what you need to do is to see the differences, whether he really tried to make up the marriage, whether he lived with her and put in his best efforts to ensure the fact that the marriage would work. But the good news about American law is that American law does not like a person undergoing torture. So in this case, what you should do is that if you have a 2-year green card and if you're a victim of abuse, you can still immediately see an attorney and try to file documents based upon a battered spouse. Or secondly, what you can do is that the law under Section 216 of the Immigration and Nationality Act requires you to show that you married her in good faith, and that when you married her, your intent was not to circumvent the immigration laws of the United States, which means your intent was bona fide and you did not want to mess around with the laws and just obtain a green card. And if this is the stand you have, and if the documentary trail can prove that, then you can still qualify for a 10-year green card. We've handled many cases in this regard, but the best way to answer a question whether you would qualify or no is on a case-by-case basis. And recently we had a case wherein we didn't have a lot of documentary evidence, but we had police reports that the spouse was actually subjected to torture. And we also told the officer that the US citizen spouse deliberately didn't want to keep a joint account, deliberately didn't want to do these factors, and this person qualified for a green card.
Okay, thank you for answering that question. Can I have my U.S. citizenship revoked if I divorce my spouse who petitioned for my green card?
Yes, recently there was a case wherein a person had become an American citizen, and immigration found out that his marriage was fraudulent from day one. And if the government comes after you, and if the government can sustain the burden of proof, of course, the burden of proof on the government is very high to show that from the time he married this particular person, that this was a fraudulent marriage. And if the government feels that it was a fraudulent marriage from inception, then even your citizenship can be revoked. In the past, these cases have been difficult, but recently there has been a body of case law wherein even people who have acquired citizenships, their green cards can be revoked.
If immigration believes my marriage is fraudulent, will I be deported?
Yes. If the first bad news for you is that if you get charged under Section 204 of the Immigration and Nationality Act, which says that you entered the marriage with the intent of fraudulently obtaining a green card, the sad thing for you to know is that you have a permanent bar, which means you can never qualify for a green card in the United States. Therefore, anytime, for example, if you're not going for the interview and your spouse doesn't show up, it's always important for you to consult a good immigration attorney immediately, because there are ways in which, if, for example, if you have a bona fide reason of not going for the interview, and if you had a bona fide marriage, save your case. Don't just give up. Don't be scared of immigration. Fight it on legal grounds, and if you are correct, you have every reason to fight.
Now, Attorney Gehi, let's say I'm on a 2-year green card, and my spouse, I have to file for a removal of conditions at 751. Now, my spouse doesn't show up to the interview. What can I do?
The very first thing is that if your spouse doesn't show up at the interview, you need to show why she did not show up at the interview. Generally, in these cases, the officer is going to deny the case. After that, you'll be having a hearing before the immigration judge. When you go before the immigration judge, because under the law, especially, you are in this situation, I must tell you, there's no substitute for you other than seeing a qualified lawyer in this situation. Because once if your conditional resident petition is denied, the sad news is that you will have to see an immigration judge. And for example, recently we had a case wherein someone's 2 years green card was denied. We went before the judge and we proved to the judge, this was a good marriage. This was a marriage wherein things did not work out between the couple, and the person still qualified for a green card before the immigration judge. Bottom line is that you have to be very careful when you are applying for the removal of your conditional residence. This is very important because it can haunt you. The reason it can haunt you is that you can be before an immigration judge, and if you're not properly represented by good counsel, you can lose your green card and you can be ordered deported by the immigration judge in this country.
Now, let's say that we get through our first 2 years of marriage and we're fine, but my U.S. citizen spouse wants to divorce me before my 10-year green card expires. Would that have any effect on my future?
If you have a 2-year green card and if your spouse divorces you, you're looking at trouble. But after you get your 2-year green card, you get your 10-year green card. After that, if you divorce, you can be in safe waters. So I think within the 2 years, it's always a problem. Unless and until if you're a victim of abuse, that's a very different thing. And Sandeep, since you're asking me so many interesting questions, I don't know where you're getting all these wonderful questions from, Sandeep. Is there any magic? How do you do that?
It's our viewers.
Are you dreaming about the law all the time rather than dreaming about something else out there?
My life is my job.
Your life is your job.
Yes.
Love is life also, right? All right. So getting back to, on track.
Yeah.
So therefore, there's a difference between someone who divorces you, during the 2-year period and after the 2-year period. And if that gets done, within the 2 period, it's a problem. After the 2 years, consult an attorney to see that at least you can become a citizen in future. And, sooner or later, we're going to have this program on battered spouses. We'll talk about the battered spouse provision and other programs.
Great.
For all your legal matters including immigration, bankruptcy and credit card problems, divorce and family law, landlord and tenant matters, criminal and personal injury, call Gehi & Associates for a free initial personal consultation at 718-263-5999.
जब कोई बात बिगड़ जाए, जब कोई मुश्किल आ जाए, तब हम आपका साथ देंगे. Anytime you have a complex immigration matter, Remember, Mahuna.
Now, when I am a green card holder and I divorce my spouse, can I remarry to someone else, and doesn't matter what their legality is?
If you're a green card holder and you're divorcing your spouse and you want to get married to somebody else now, right? Remember, immigration is going to look upon that, because there was a case wherein there was this woman, she married 5 or 6 people, and they all used to get the green cards and they used to leave her. So finally, the officer asked her, "What are you doing?" I mean, 5 husbands, it's a reality.
Right.
And then, is this a 6th one? The officer was fed up. Because immigration's concern was that, is she marrying them for the purpose of getting them green cards in this country, permanent residence petitions? So finally, I mean, it was a big fight in that case. But the last husband got the green card, and luckily she hasn't divorced him for a long time. So.
Now, how will my illegal spouse affect my green card and my path to citizenship?
Your illegal spouse's immigration status is not of concern. Means if you're a green card holder, it cannot affect you. For example, we have cases sometimes wherein the spouse actually was even had criminal charges, and she was a U.S. citizen. So those issues should not be a big concern, but they can be handled in a very systematic way by a qualified immigration attorney. And remember that divorces do play a major role in immigration matters, and especially like in our law firm, we also do divorces in New York. It's very important for you when you're obtaining a divorce to see the grounds of the divorce. And for example, since we do immigration and divorces, we know the grounds of what would be good for the clients. And that's why we have a detailed interview with the client, whether they qualify under the grounds. For example, under New York law, you have adultery, then you can get cruel and inhuman treatment. Now we have the no-fault divorce provision, and then we have abandonment, and we have constructive abandonment. These are the common grounds. So there's no substitute for you to see a good divorce lawyer and an immigration lawyer in order to address these issues. And once you address those issues, then I believe you're going to be fine when you even have a divorce. Means there are many cases wherein people have gotten the 10-year green cards, they've been divorced, and they can become citizens in this country. There have been people in this country who had the 2-year green cards, and without the help of the other spouse, we've helped them to actually become permanent residents in this country. We've had cases like this. But the question here is that it all depends under the law, it depends on the subjective circumstances of the case. There are no direct answers to these questions, and I believe, therefore, I mean, you need to get a thorough review of your situation, and then only you should, take the next step.
This is a new question. This kind of pertains to what's been happening recently in New York. With the passage of marriage equality in New York, am I able to firstly, can I apply for my same-sex spouse? And let's say I get divorced from my same-sex spouse, can that affect me in, let's say, battered spouse cases?
Firstly, even if you get married to the same-sex partner, the news for you is that if you get married, you can file the I-130 petition, get it approved. And when you're going to file your adjustment petition, they're going to hold it at this time. They're not going to make a decision on it. And sometimes they may just deny it because DOMA, which is the Defense of Marriage Act, is still pending. So in another segment, we're going to talk about immigration relief for gays and for lesbians. So we're going to have an interesting session on gays and lesbians, of how they can actually qualify for green cards in the United States.
Okay, looks like that's the question.
And before we end the show, a few other things. Remember, folks, before we go, that a divorce can have an impact upon your immigration matter. So therefore, it's very important for you to look at the grounds of divorce. Secondly, you also need to ensure the fact that when you're applying for your green card, if you have a 2-year green card, see that you have all the evidence in order with you. Thirdly, I mean, if you're a victim of cruel and inhuman treatment, and if you have been physically abused, then you can still file a police complaint against your spouse, and your spouse can be in troubled waters, especially if he has beaten you, or if he has been brutal to you, or if he has actually abused you to a substantial extent. So the bottom line is that, remember, even if you have a 2-year green card, there may be light at the end of the tunnel. So don't give up your 2-year green card and walk away. Don't shy away from it. Even if you're before an immigration judge, you may still be able to fight your case off. Of course, there's no substitute for you to see that you're very well prepared with your case and you have the best counsel to represent you. But the message is do not give up, especially even if you don't have a green card at times, and if you're married to an American citizen who did not even file for your green card, you may still qualify for a green card under the battered spouse petition. We'll also be talking a lot about battered spouses, and we're also going to talk about the easy ways of getting the green card for lesbians and gays, and especially the passage of DOMA of how you can qualify under the Defense of Marriage Act. This is Attorney Naresh Gehi from Gehi and Associates with Sandeep. We'll be back again with you with some more interesting news from the world of law. Keep watching this program brought to you by Gehi and Associates.